Welcome to another episode of TFL Talk. As always, I have my partner in crime, Nathan.
Nathan, right here. Yeah.
And today, since it's chilly outside, we're talking top 10 winter cars. In other words, top 10 all-wheel drive cars.
That's right. We wanted to discuss just a little bit about the all-wheel drive systems and four-wheel drive systems in some of the vehicles we've recently driven, at least for the 2014 model year. And we have quite a few vehicles here that are unique, and actually not all all-wheel drive systems are alike.
No, they're very technical and very different. And the reason that we're only doing cars that we've driven, obviously, Nathan, is because we want to have cars that we've had direct experience with.
That's right.
And we want to give the manufacturer an incentive to give us cars that we can't get our hands on.
If we don't drive it, we can't review it.
This is where we kind of draw a line, because what we're doing is we're going from these intelligent systems, right, that are systems that basically you select the kind of terrain you're on, and then there's a little computer in the car that says, oh, okay, you're on snow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do what's best for you on snow, and takes the autonomy away from you. It makes it kind of its own little thing.
Which is good for a lot of people who need it.
Which is good, but the best systems, in my opinion at least, Nathan, are the old-fashioned systems. There's nothing that beats good tires, good ground clearance, good approach angles, good departure angles, and lockable differentials, and this next vehicle has it.
Has it all, and that's the Toyota 4Runner Trail Edition.
Yeah, the Trail, not the Limited, because it's different. It's different.
The Trail is the full-blown off-road kick-ass version of the 4Runner, and it's, in our minds, the best one they build. It has really good ground clearance. It has a four-wheel drive system that is customizable to almost any type of terrain you can possibly imagine. You can set on the top various types of terrain and various speeds and all these other things, or if you just want to go for your own bare bones way of doing it, you can just pull a lever and put it into four-wheel drive, hit a button, lock up the rear diff. It's that simple, and it works really good. It has crawl control. It has KDSS, which is the Kinetic Dynamic Suspension System. You know what? It's a really, really good off-roader, and that Toyota really deserves. Frankly, they're right up there with, I think, the Jeep Grand Cherokee.
And the other thing that makes it great is it's a truck body and frame, which means it's built on a much sturdier platform, so it doesn't necessarily rotate as much. And from my, at least, opinion, I love that little knob on top. So as Nathan was telling before, he was saying you can have some of these hill descent controls where you can actually manually control how fast the vehicle is going. With that little knob, you can say 5 miles an hour, 6 miles an hour, 7 miles an hour, and it makes okay drivers like myself into excellent drivers, because the system does a lot of the work for you. The downside, of course, is it's heavy and you pay in fuel.
Yeah, it gets kind of not so good gas mileage, and frankly, it needs a more powerful engine. That's just what we both think. But it's a really, really good off-roader, and it works great in snow. Now, this is a vehicle that it's number 3 on our list, and I only chose this one because we've both driven it, and that's the Subaru Crosstrek XV Impreza that's lifted. Recently I've driven the WRX and the WRX STI, but Roman hasn't, so that's why it's not on the list, because otherwise it should be, because it's awesome. There's something very interesting you should know about Subaru. They have 2 different all-wheel drive systems primarily for their vehicles. They have the one that's based on the manual transmission, that is a viscous couple in the middle of the vehicle. In other words, where the drive shaft is, all of that is sent 50-50, front and rear. So it's a very simple, basic system. It works really, really well. And it can allocate traction as necessary. So it's mostly a mechanical system, the way you could look at it. Whereas they have, for their now CVT, which is going to be pretty much in all vehicles, they call it a proactive automatic all-wheel drive with a 60-40 torque split front to rear under normal conditions. And then what it does is an electronically controlled hydraulic multi-plate transfer clutch is installed instead of the regular center diff. And what it does, it's actually mounted in the tail shaft. Sensors monitor parameters such as wheel slippage, throttle position, and braking to help determine needed torque distribution to the rear axle before the wheels start to slip. One final thing on that. According to Subaru, this is from the Subaru guys, the system that's with the CVT derived car is the best system they have. The one that's in the manual version is like an older version, and it's not as good. That's what they said.
I think this is a good point to kind of talk about the electronics that the car has now. There are probably 3 different systems, and they all kind of work together, and they can all work against each other. Number one, obviously the oldest one, is ABS. And ABS, for all of you older folks, as I'm sure you know, basically doesn't allow the wheels to lock up. Because once the wheels lock up, you're a passenger. So let's say that the steering wheel is pointing this way and you don't have ABS, you slam on the wheels, the tires lock up, you're going straight.
Yeah.
Whereas ABS keeps the wheel spinning, keeps you in control. Basic system, all cars have to have it now. Stability control is next.
Yeah.
Actually, traction control. Let's not
Traction control.
So traction control, think about ABS, but the other way. It allows you to accelerate, and if the wheels start to spin, then it can either brake that wheel or it can send less power to it so that you're only getting as much power to the wheel as it has traction.
Yeah.
Now, stability control is kind of the newest thing. Stability control basically works with both of those systems. And even yaw sensors in the car, and it says, okay, I see that your steering wheel is pointing at 30 degrees left, but the car is heading, straight. So what it can do is it can lock or slow down the left wheel, speed up the right wheel, and actually have the car go in the direction of the steering wheel, so that even if you're not necessarily smart enough to let off the gas, hit the brakes, the car will do all that for you. And then the fourth thing, which is becoming big now, is what the heck is that?
The lane departure systems?
No. Where you go around a corner where one wheel goes faster than the other.
Oh, Harry Brazier's.
Harry Brazier's, yeah.
Vectoring.
Vector.
Yeah, torque vectoring.
Torque vectoring, yeah. Allocating power to whatever wheel is needed so that the car actually goes around a corner quicker or faster or more efficiently. Because when you think about it, if you're trying to go around the corner like this, and if you can make the outside wheels go faster or the inside wheels go slower, you'll actually take that corner in a much more reasonable way without forcing the car. And all these systems can work together in a modern all-wheel drive system, and that's why it's so complicated.
Now, a car that's not on this list but that has active torque vectoring is the Nissan Juke, which for such an inexpensive car, it actually works really, really well. Now, let's get to number 2, because this is the ultimate in something that doesn't have the electronic nannies as much as it has your control, and that is the Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon. I chose the Unlimited, which is the 4-door, because in terms of overall driving and popularity, that is the most popular of their Jeeps, and the Rubicon is, well, frankly, the most capable. Now check this out. This is directly from them about the Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon is equipped with a true lock, electronically locking differentials that are good for mud, terrain, everything basically. So let's go to it has tires and it has the Rock Track transfer case, a low 4-to-1 low range ratio, rock rails, and a 73-to-1 crawl ratio with the manual transmission, which allows you to basically put the thing in first gear and take off your feet and just let the thing crawl over just about anything. It's a remarkable system. You can detach the sway bar, which granted it's not part of the drive system, but you can also lock up when you need to. You can do anything with that drive system that you need to get over rocks. It is, in North America, one of the most capable off-road vehicles currently sold.
Yeah, basically any kind of system that is good off-road is going to be good in the snow.
That's right, and we've proven that. We've taken some Wranglers into the snow, Saharas, which aren't even as capable as the Rubicons, and they absolutely kicked ass in the snow.
Yeah, it's probably the ultimate four-wheel drive off-road system, and that translates to just incredible traction in the snow. And let's be honest here, Nathan. If you disregard all that, right?
Yeah.
If you disregard all that, the fact that the Jeep comes with really hardcore mutton snow tires makes a huge difference. So you've got these big beefy tires on most models.
That are self-cleaning when you spin them.
Yeah, and so even if you keep it in normal rear-wheel drive, it's still going to have good traction because the part that's touching the ground, the snow, is very capable. All right, number 1, please.
Number 1.
Oh, this is tricky, man.
This is tricky. This
tricky.
is something that was very surprising. I did not quite realize this. Both of us have owned Audis before. Audi is number 1, and initially we were going to put up the A8 or the S8 and all these other ones, and all of a sudden I started researching it. Do you know how many Quattro systems there are? Several. Quattro isn't just for one system like it used to be when Quattro first came out. Quattro now basically says, okay, this car has all-wheel drive. Because there is a Borg Warner traditional all-wheel drive system, which is in the Q7. The Q3 has a Haldex system. There's a torsion center diff, which is mechanical, by the way, and that's used in a couple of them. The A3 and the S3 or smaller have the Haldex system. So does the TT. The R8 has, well, it's a completely different type of system because
So basically, you're saying Quattro just means it's all-wheel drive, but it could be a different system.
well, back in the day when I had my old Audi, one of the first generations that had Quattro, it was 3 open diffs throughout the car, and you can manually lock things down. It was freaking awesome, and it worked great. But now they're taking all that control away from you and basically saying, you know what, we're going to automatically do this for you.
Yeah, so I think if we look at our experience, the ultimate kind of four-wheel drive system is the Jeep system.
Yeah.
The traditional old school lockable differentials. And probably the smart system is either the Subaru, the Audi, or the Range Rover.
That's right. And, you know, don't get confused by symmetrical all-wheel drive, Quattro and all that other stuff. Just think all-wheel drive because these systems are different.
And personally, and this is, once again, something I've learned in hard experience with getting stuck and having misadventures, I will any day prefer a four-wheel drive system that's in like in a pickup or in a Jeep over one of these smart systems. I know that, for instance, a Range Rover has an extremely capable system, right? But there's a sense that the thing is thinking really hard to figure out what tires should get traction, and that takes a little bit of time. Whereas if you can lock all four wheels down, have a lot of ground clearance, great departure and approach angles, it works. Great tires. And you know, you don't need all that thinking. I know that that doesn't work for many people. If you live in, like, say, New York, you don't necessarily need a lifted Jeep. Even though this year you might.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that we can take away from this conversation is the cars are becoming more and more autonomous, whether you like it or not, and especially all-wheel drive cars, because they are, if you know it or not, taking control of the driving at certain instances, like when it thinks you're going to get in a car accident, it thinks you don't have the right amount of traction, and that was proved to me so blatantly with that Bentley on the ice, because even when we turned off the traction control system, it still wouldn't let us, hot rod that thing around the ice. It's at some point it would still say, you don't have any traction, so I'm going to retard the engine, I'm going to break these wheels, and you don't realize it's happening until you get in some kind of extreme situation like driving on ice.
Now that's one side of the argument, and the other side of the argument is I know an awful lot of people who suck at driving, and as such
Good
they
point.
need every single electronic nanny to keep them alive. There are people out there who still drive on snow roads at like double the speed limit, and snow and ice and everything else. Who cares? I'll just keep on going. There are people out there.
You know what they're called? Texans.
Coloradans too sometimes, believe me. And the other thing is, and remember this, folks, that they're not putting these things in there in order just to, do black magic and, oh, really, this isn't the system you need, but we're just going to throw it in there. Nowadays, there are many systems that are required, and if they're not required, then they're working with systems that are, such as anti-lock. And it's very important to remember that, these systems are put there for a reason. So when we're being idiots and we, switch everything off, well, it's because we're trying to show you something, or maybe we're trying to have a little bit of fun. But the reality is, everyday driving, we don't mess with these systems. They work really well on their own.
Yeah, I bet you they've saved countless lives, Nathan.
Countless lives.
Countless lives. And on that, Nathan, we should talk about what we're doing next time.
Next time, we're going to be doing something really cool.
Yep. What is?
Well, it's the top 10 spring, sunshine / funshine vehicles.
Yeah, because spring is just around the corner, and
Thank God.
it's time to say goodbye to winter. As always, this is Roman
And Nathan.
saying thanks for watching. Check out tflcar.com for more news,
Views.
and reviews. See you next time when we talk about the top 10 spring cars.
Auf Wiedersehen.